Hi everyone, let's talk about Tna Rebellion, which this show was a very good pay-per-view in my opinion. Let's talk about it. Ryan Nemeth fences BTE started the countdown to Rebellion. Let's talk about it. BTE attacks Ryan Nemeth before the bell rings and he rolls out of the ring and BTE falls and levels him outside of the ring and back in the ring. BTE duplexes him on the canvas and BTE jumps from the ropes and connects a crossbody onto Ryan Nemeth and Ryan Nemeth fires back, knocking BTE off the top rope and he slams BTE into the edge of the apron and continues to build momentum, and BTE levels a cinch strike, drops Ryan Nemeth with clip cutter, and he follows it up with a cover, and Ryan Nemeth kicks out, and Ryan Nemeth fires back with a DDT, and BTE enters with a frog splash, and Ryan Nemeth connects with a big Hollywood ending and goes for a cover and wins the match and defeats BDE, and that's how Ryan Nemeth won. Then Frank Kazarian will be going against Elijah later in the evening and so on and so forth, guys. And let's talk about it. And this Thursday, Impact Wrestling on ABC, AMC, I'm going to say AMC, Frank Kazarian pays a child to help strap Elijah in the cemetery to surprise him, and the hometown man joins us to show support for the friend Elijah, and he is since to be back in his hometown, and he shares some TNA. I'll say it again, guys. I'll repeat it again. So I'll repeat it again. The hometown man joins us to show support for his friend Elijah, and is since to back in his hometown, and he shares some TNA merch with the audience and is convinced that Elijah is going to win his match tonight. And the president of TNA Wrestling, Carlos Savia, joins us, and Matthew shares that EC3 will be joining us back in TNA Wrestling, and Carlos is happy to see him back in TNA Wrestling. Then AJ Francis will be facing against Nick Nemeth later in the night with Bernie Corsar and Nick Nemeth's corner. Then Carlos Savia shares his thoughts on Ricky Soa siding with TNA, but Eric Young interrupts and Eddie. I'll say it again. I'll repeat it again. Carlos shares his thoughts on Ricky Soa siding with TNA, but Eric Young interrupts and Eric Young is ready to come face to face with EC3 later in the evening. Then Ace Steel joins us to break down the main event tonight for Rebellion. Then Jiz Miller joins us again as she rooms through the arena for some more predictions for the fans. Then Dur Ray feels Mike Santana and Eddie Edwards are the TNA legends in the making. Then the kickoff match was Leon Slater versus Cedric Alexander for the X Division title. Yes, guys, that was the kickoff of the main card, was Cedric Alexander versus Leon Slater for the X Division Championship. We'll talk about that here in a second because I'm getting a call again. Okay, we're back, guys. Sorry about that. I was getting a call. So we're back again, guys. Let's talk about Cedric Alexander versus Leon Slater for the X Division title. The bell rings and Cedric Alexander goes for an early pin, a mint, and Cedric Alexander drops Leon Slater to the canvas, and Leon Slater answers, answers with a boot to his face, and Leon Slater flats him with a handspring back elbow and connects a boot to his face. And Cedric Alexander rolls out of the ring, and Leon Slater falls, but Cedric Alexander offenses it, and Leon Slater connects a Hurricanrana outside of the ring and rolls him into the ring and drops him into the ring with a crossbody. Then Cedric Alexander enters and slams him into the edge of the apron, and Cedric Alexander German suplex him, and both of them trade blows. Boom, 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 bang, 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 bang. Then lands a boot to the neck of Leon Slater and goes for a cover. And Leon Slater kicks out at 2, and Leon Slater slides through the ropes and slams a boot into Cedric Alexander's face. And then back in the ring, Cedric Alexander slams him down with a German suplex and locks him in a chokehold. And Cedric Alexander gets to Leon Slater's eyes, leaving him disalterating, and Leon Slater fires back and levels him center ring, and Leon Slater knocks him down again and goes for a cover, and I'll say it again. Leon Slater knocks him down again and goes for a cover, and Cedric Alexander kicks out at 2, and Leon Slater continues his momentum with a kick to Cedric Alexander's face. Then Leon Slater flies off the top rope and flats him outside of the ring. Then Leon Slater climbs to the top turnbuckle, goes for a Suicide 450, and Cedric Alexander rolls out of the way, and Cedric Alexander counters with a driver and rolls him up for a cover, and Leon Slater kicks out at 2. Then Leon Slater goes for a Styles Clash, and then Cedric Alexander counters out, and he drops Leon Slater with a brainbuster and goes for a cover. Then Leon Slater kicks out at 2. Then Cedric Alexander slams Leon Slater off the top turnbuckle with a brainbuster and slams him down with a LeBar check and goes for another cover. And Leon Slater gets on his feet onto the ropes. And then Cedric Alexander's eyes the TNA X Division title and brings the title belt into the ring. Then Leon Slater drops Cedric Alexander with a Styles Clash onto the title belt and climbs to the top rope and crashes down with a Suicide 450 for the victory. And that's how Leon Slater defeated Cedric Alexander with a 450 Suicide, and that's how he retained the TNA X Division title. Then, Jess Miller is backstage with the TNA World Champion Mike Santana. For 86 days, Mike Santana has carried the TNA World Championship, and tonight he is ready to take on Eddie Edwards. And Alicia Edwards is interrupted and wants to talk to Mike Santana about Eddie Edwards. Then we had Frankie Kazarian versus Elijah. Let's talk about this match. This match was really good. I love this match. This match with Frankie Kazarian and Elijah was really good. Loved it. I'm telling you guys, love this match. I'm telling you, so good. I'm telling you. Oh, man, it was so good. And Frankie Kazarian won this match, I'm telling you, but let's carry on. The bell rings and Elijah charges at Frankie Kazarian and builds momentum with a boot to Frankie Kazarian's face and back-to-back strikes to his chest. Boom, 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 bang, 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 bang. Then Elijah flats him with a clothesline and slams his head into the edge of the apron twice. Then Elijah goes around the world with a dive by knee strike and force Frankie Kazarian to walk with Elijah. Then Elijah charges at Frankie Kazarian and offenses him and throws Elijah into the turnbuckle with a German suplex, and Frankie Kazarian jumps over the top rope and sends Elijah flying into the title belt table and flies over the top rope and crashing down with a slingshot drop. I'll say it again, guys. A slingshot leg drop, and continuing his momentum, he slams down Elijah with a side Russian leg sweep, and Frankie Kazarian slams the Qatar strap into Elijah's midsection, and he strikes him several times in the back with it, and Elijah stops Frigazarian, and Frigazarian enters immediately with a clothesline, and then Frigazarian tries to force Elijah to walk with the king, and Elijah launches him to the opposite side of the ring, and Frigazarian enters with a backstabber into a clothesline and goes for a springboard leg drop, and Elijah catches him with midair and drives him down with a sit electric chair drop, and Elijah slams the guitar strap into Frigazarian several times and drops him with a side choke slam, and Elijah goes for a cover, and Frigazarian kicks out at 2, and Frigazarian drops Elijah with a slingshot cutter into the guitar and goes for a cover, and Elijah kicks out at 2. Then Elijah charges at him, and Frigazarian sets up for a fade to black, and Elijah fences it, and Elijah picks up the guitar, but the ref will not allow it, and Frigazarian hits a low blow from behind, rolls up Elijah, and wins the match with a low blow from behind and rolls up Elijah, and that's how Frigazarian defeated Elijah. Then we had the TNA Rebellion injury report. The Hardys have both been medically cleared despite being banged up during their tables match. Then ODB and Mickie James have been cleared for the Hardcore Country match later in the night. Then Lorenzo Stacks has suffered from a black eye and bloody nose and is cleared. Then Eddie Edwards and Mike Santana have been at fault and cleared for in-ring action. Then Lorenzo Stacks and Ariana Grace are backstage and have a plan for their upcoming match. Then we had Moose fences Special Agent Zero. This match was a good match. I liked it. I thought it was going to be not that good, but proved me wrong. TNA proved me wrong. I thought they were going to, I thought this match was going to be a swash match with Moose and Special Agent Zero, but they delivered. This match delivered. So let's talk about it. It wasn't a swash match. Let's talk about it. Special Agent Zero attacks Moose from. I'll say it again. Special Agent Zero attacks Moose before the bell rings and throws him into the steel steps, and the bell rings and Moose sends Special Agent Zero over the top rope, and Moose finds a table from underneath the ring and sets it up, and Special Agent Zero cites the opportunity to slam him into the edge of the apron, and Moose slams Special Agent Zero with a backdrop into the edge of the apron and sends Special Agent Zero into the outside with a dropkick, and Moose charges at him, and Special Agent Zero picks him up, slamming him spine first into the steel post, and both contenders trade blows in the ring, boom, 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 bang, 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 and Moose connects a pump kick into Special Agent Zero, and Moose and Special Agent Zero crash down with a superplex, and Moose spears Special Agent Zero through the table onto the outside. Then back in the ring, they trade blows back and forth, boom, 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 bang, 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 bang. Then Special Agent Zero flats Moose and goes for a cover, and Moose kicks out at 2, and Moose headbutts him and crashing him with an inch and drops down with a suicide, and Moose catches him and dives him down with a powerbomb into the steel steps, and then Great Hands interfere, and Moose tries to protect Alicia Edwards from Skylar. I'll say it again, from Skylar, but she has caught in the crossfire, and Moose catches Alicia Edwards and I'll say it again, Alicia Edwards, and Special Agent Zero strikes Moose with a boot, and he chokes bombs Moose spine first into an apron and rolls him into the ring and slams Moose down with another choke bomb in the ring and goes for the cover and wins the match, and that's how Special Agent Zero defeated Moose. Then we had this match, the Hardcore Country match. Love this. The Elegance brand won and defeated ODB and Mickie James and Taryn Terrell. Oh man, beated the TNA legends. I'm telling you, this was a good match. Back and forth, boom, 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 back and forth with the women. Give it up for the women, man. Give it up to the past legends in TNA and the upcoming TNA knockouts in TNA. TNA, TNA. Sorry, guys. I love TNA. I hope that best for that company, even though they're, Carlos Savia is not letting freaking other people go to other shows and all of this, and Nick Nemeth not challenging MJF and all that on May 1st and stuff, which is kind of bullshit in my opinion. But anyways, let's carry on, guys. So we had the Elegance brand versus Taryn Terrell and Mickie James and ODB in a hardcore country match. Let's talk about it. ODB and Taryn Terrell and Mickie James attack the Elegance brand, and the bell rings, and the Elegance brand throw different objects from underneath the ring into the ring, and chaos interrupts, and the Elegance brand attack Mickie James and Taryn Terrell and ODB as they climb back into the ring, and they flat the Elegance brand and slam different weapons into them, and Mickie James slams a candlestick into Ash by Elegance midsection, and Ash by Elegance attacks some of the VIP guests ringside, and Mickie James and ODB come to rescue, and Taryn Terrell pours lollipops onto the canvas and suplex Ash by Elegance into them and goes for a cover, and Ash kicks out, and then they dive through the ring and level the They dive through the ring and leveled the Elegance brand outside the ring, and Heather and M by Elegance fired back, and M sent Taryn Terrell into the steel post, and Heather sends Mickie James into the wheelbarrow, inside of the wheelbarrow inside of the ring. Then the Elegance brand tied ODB into the bottom rope, and Mickie James drops M by Elegance into the wheelbarrow, and Taryn Terrell sends Heather into the sends Heather into the hay, and Ash by Elegance tries to slams down a stop, signs to Taryn Terrell, and she offends it, and ODB brings out a cooler with pickles, and Mickie James and Taryn Terrell try to send George Iceman into it, and Mr. Elegance comes to the rescue, but is dunked into the cooler instead. Then ODB and Mickie James and Taryn Terrell put a pickle suit onto George Iceman, and Taryn Terrell climbs to the top and levels the Elegance brand from the outside, and ODB sets up Mickie James and Taryn Terrell, and Mr. Elegance interferes and tries to protect Ash by Elegance, and Ash by Elegance sprays hairspray into ODB's face and slams her down with a DDT, and the Elegance brand rush for the cover for the win, and that's how they won, and that's how the Elegance brand defeated Mickie James and Taryn Terrell and ODB. Then Tommy Dreamer and Carlos Savia join the Impact Zone and eject the Elegance brand from the ring, and Tommy Dreamer and Carlos Savia officially announced that ODB will be at Bounds of Glory to join the Hall of Fame, and ODB is ready for Bounds for Glory. Then Alina Black has her eyes on the TNA Knockouts World Championship later in the night and is ready to go after the title herself. Then we had Nick Nemeth versus AJ Francis, and Nick Nemeth with the Cleveland Brown legend quarterback Bernie Kosar. Let's talk about it, guys. This match was a good match. I loved it, guys. It were really good. Loved it, guys. I really did. I love this match. I love this match with Nick Nemeth and AJ Francis. Loved it, guys. Put your thoughts in, what you thought about this match and stuff. So put your thoughts in. I appreciate everybody coming in and stuff, guys. So let's talk about it. Before the match begins, AJ Francis reintroduces himself, and the bell rings, and the match officially starts, and AJ Francis super kicks Nick Nemeth and goes for an early cover, and he kicks out at 2, and AJ Francis throws Nick Nemeth into the turnbuckle, and Nick Nemeth tries to ascend AJ Francis onto his shoulders, and AJ Francis decides it and throws him over the top rope to the outside, and AJ Francis sets up for a down payment, and Nick Nemeth prevents it and catches him with the right hand of God, and Nick Nemeth goes and sits first into the top turnbuckle, and AJ Francis slams into Nick Nemeth with Tennessee whiskey and gets into the face of Bernie Kosar, and AJ Francis dumps Nick Nemeth with a boot to the face and goes for a cover, and Nick Nemeth kicks out at 2, and AJ Francis sets him into his shoulder, but Nick Nemeth fires back with several strikes, and Nick Nemeth tries to level him on his shoulder again, and AJ Francis flats him, and Nick Nemeth headbutts AJ Francis and also again. Nick Nemeth headbutts AJ Francis and launches AJ Francis with a DDT, and Nick Nemeth crashes down with 10 shots to the heart. And then, since also again, he hauses AJ Francis onto his shoulder and slams him down, and Nick Nemeth goes for a super kick, and AJ Francis sinks with FTL, and he goes for the cover, and Nick Nemeth kicks out, and Nick Nemeth counters the down payment with the Famouser and goes for a pin, and AJ Francis kicks out at 2. Then Nick Nemeth climbs to the top rope, and AJ Francis interferes and slows him down. I'll say it again. AJ Francis interferes and slows him down, and Nick Nemeth and AJ Francis crash down from the top rope with Danger Zone, and he goes for the cover, and AJ Francis kicks out at the last second, and Nick Nemeth tries to dive through the ropes, and AJ Francis catches him and slams him down with a down payment onto the outside, and AJ Francis tries to bring a steel chair into the match, but the ref disarms him, and AJ Francis strikes the ref, and Bernie Kosar gets involved, and he puts himself between AJ Francis and Nick Nemeth, and KC Guerrero distracts AJ Francis by walking down the ramp towards the ring, and Bernie Kosar slams the steel chair into AJ Francis' spine. The Nick Nemeth drops him with the Danger Zone for the win, and that's how Nick Nemeth defeated AJ Francis with the Danger Zone. Then we had Li Gang Lee versus Ariana Grace for the TNA Knockouts Women's title. Let's talk about it, guys. Let's talk about the TNA Knockouts World Championship. Li Gang Lee versus Ariana Grace, which this was a good match, guys. And Ariana Grace retained. And I really thought that, she was going to, Li Gang Lee was going to, get back that TNA Knockouts World Women's title, but it didn't happen because, Saya Brookside turned her back and betrayed Li Gang Lee. So yes, guys, Saya Brookside is a heel now and turned her back on Li Gang Lee at Rebellion. But anyways, let's carry on and talk about this match. So Li Gang Lee flats Ariana Grace and goes for a hammer fist, and Li Gang Lee crashes into her with a missile drop. And outside of the ring, Ariana Grace tries to get under the ring while Lorenzo Stacks distracts Li Gang Lee, and Ariana Grace attacks Li Gang Lee while she Li Gang Lee while she's distracted and sends her back into the ring and connects a pump kick, and she drops Ariana Grace with a twisted neck breaker, and Lorenzo Stacks interferes with the match, and Saya Brookside stops him, and Lorenzo Stacks is ejected from ringside, and Li Gang Lee rolls up Ariana Grace for a 2 count. Then Li Gang Lee rains down hammer fist and flats her into the canvas and goes for a pin, and Ariana Grace dives from the top rope with an elbow shiver and goes for a cover of her own, and Li Gang Lee kicks out at 2. Also again, she kicks out at 2. Li Gang Lee and Ariana Grace and Li Gang Lee meet at the top rope, and Ariana Grace tries to superplex her, and Lee slams her down with a blockbuster, and Li Gang Lee pulls up Ariana Grace for Warrior Ways, and Ariana Grace senses it and slams her face first into her knee, and Ariana Grace rolls out of the ring and grabs her title, but the ref disarmed her, and Li Gang Lee pulls up, and Ariana Grace drops her with Warrior away, and Liang Li goes for the cover, and Xia Brookside interferes and puts Ariana Grace's foot on the rope and attacks Liang Li, and she shoves Liang Li into the steel steps and rolls Liang Li back into the ring. And that's what happened. And Ariana Grace slams a knee into the back of Liang Li's head for the victory. And that's how Ariana Grace defeated Liang Li with a slam and a knee to the back of her head. And that's how Ariana Grace won and retained the TNA Knockouts Women's title. Then we had the return of EC3. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Too much hype. I love EC3. I like Eden Carter III. I love him, man. I'm happy that he's back in TNA. But anyways, let's talk about it. Eric Young joins us on Rebellion and calls out EC3 to join him to plan his case. And EC3 is back for the first time in 9 years in TNA. And then Eric Young tries to attack EC3, but he sends him to the outside, and he challenged Eric Young to a one-on-one next week on TNA Impact on AMC, which we'll talk about that later on tonight, guys. Then Tessa Stills and the great hands pursued to use any means necessary. And then we had the match with Trey Miguel versus Mustafa Ali for the TNA International Championship. Let's talk about it, guys. Mustafa Ali takes down Trey Miguel to start the match off, and Trey Miguel fires back, and he flanks him and strikes him with a right hand, and Trey Miguel drops him with an Inzanari, and Mustafa Ali charges at him and goes face first into the turnbuckle, and Trey Miguel flances him onto the outside, and Trey Miguel slams down Mustafa Ali with a twisting destroyer, and the great hands distract the ref, and Mustafa Ali launches Trey Miguel into Tessa Stills, who drops Trey Miguel with a cutter, and Trey Miguel fires back and flanks him with a clothesline and goes for the cover, and Mustafa Ali kicks out at 2, and Mustafa Ali drops Trey Miguel with a rolling cutter and goes for a cover, and Trey Miguel kicks out at 2, and Mustafa Ali catches Trey Miguel into a fisherman suplex and goes for a pin. And Trey Miguel kicks out at 2, and Mustafa Ali tries to powerbomb off the steel steps, and Trey Miguel offenses it and dives Mustafa Ali into them with a Madura, and back inside the ring, and Trey Miguel slams down Mustafa Ali with the German suplex, and Mustafa Ali fires back with a DDT, and Trey Miguel counters with a tornado DDT, and they trade drop kicks, and Mustafa Ali goes for a rolling neck breaker, and Trey Miguel counters with a stomp, and Trey Miguel climbs to the top turnbuckle, and Mustafa Ali slams him down with a Spanish fly, and Mustafa Ali goes for a cover, and Trey Miguel kicks out at 2, and Mustafa Ali sets up for a Suicide 450, and Trey Miguel counters it with a cutter, and Tessa Stills distracts the ref, and Mustafa Ali launches Trey Miguel into the ropes, and the great hands slam their helmets into his head, and Mustafa Ali crashes down with a Suicide 450 for the win and became the new TNA International Champion Mustafa Ali with the Suicide 450 for the victory. Then Jess Miller joins a heartbroken Liang Li about Xia Brookside betraying her. Then Rosemary is with Abyss. I'll say it again. Rosemary is with Abyss in Dead Rhythm, and Victoria Crawford and Tessa Blanchard are seen lost in Dead Rhythm, and Abyss shares a heart-filled moment about his career in TNA wrestling with Jim. Then we had the TNA World Tag Team title. Also, again, the TNA World Tag Team Championships, the Hardys versus the System, and the System became the new TNA Tag Team Champions, guys. The System, Brian Myers, and Bear Branson became the new TNA World Tag Team Champions. Let's talk about it. And I love this match. Let's talk about this, guys. I loved it. Let's talk about it. Jeff Hardy and Brian. Also, again, Jeff Hardy and Brian Myers start this thing off, and the Hardys suplex Bear Branson, and Matt Hardy deletes Brian Myers, and Matt Hardy flets Brian Myers with a side effect and goes for a cover, and Brian Myers kicks out at 2, and Brian Myers rolls out of the ring, and Matt Hardy follows him, and Bird Branson gets involved and charges into Matt, and Brian Myers, Brian Myers slams Matt into the edge of the apron and rolls him back into the ring, and Brian Myers tags Bird Branson, elbow drop Matt Hardy, and Bird Branson rams Matt Hardy into the turnbuckle, and Matt Hardy fires back and lands several blows and tries to sunset flip Bird Branson, and Bird Branson counters, crushing him, and gets a tag onto Brian Myers, and Brian Myers flats him with a belly back suplex and charges at Matt Hardy, and Matt Hardy counters with a twist of fate and goes for a cover, and Bird Branson breaks it up, and Jeff Hardy rushes into the aid of his brother, and Jeff Hardy and Bird Branson meet in the ring, and Jeff Hardy's on fire and elbow drops him and goes for the pin. And Jeff Hardy goes for a twist of fate, and Bird Branson assists, dropping Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy slams into Bird Branson with a jawbreaker, and locks Bird Branson into a spiritual destination, and also get a spiritual destination, and Brian Myers breaks it up, and Jeff Hardy drops him with a plant twist, and Matt Hardy sets Jeff Hardy for percent emotion, and Matt Hardy slams down Bird Branson with a twist of fate, and Jeff Hardy climbs to the top rope, and Brian Myers interferes and protects Bird Branson, and Bird Branson lifts up Jeff Hardy, and Brian Myers super kicks him, and Bird Branson flats him to the mat, and Bird Branson goes for the cover, and that's how they won, and that's how the system defeated the Hardys and became the new TNA World Tag Team Champions. And that's how Bird Branson and Brian Myers defeated Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy. Then Alicia Edwards is with Moose backstage, and Moose wants to take Alicia Edwards to the hospital, but she stays for the main event. Then EC3 will face off against Eric Young, and then Casey Vassaro will clash with AJ Francis one-on-one. Then we had the main event. With Mike Santana versus Eddie Edwards. Let's talk about it, guys. Let's talk about this match. So yes, this match is for the TNA World title. Eddie Edwards versus Mike Santana. Let's talk about it. The main event is officially underway, and Eddie Edwards and Mike Santana trade blows back and forth, boom, 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 bang, 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 to Mike Santana drops him, and Eddie Edwards rolls out of the ring after attempting spin the block and rolling buck 50. Back in the ring, Mike Santana bounces down, and Eddie Edwards goes for a Boston knee party, and Mike Santana offenses it and crashes down from the top rope with a moonsault and climbs to the top rope and drops down with a moonsault. I'll say it again, guys. He crashes down from the top rope with a moonsault, and he climbs to the top rope and drops down with a puppy splash, and Eddie Edwards offenses it, and Eddie Edwards drives down Mike Santana with a tiger bomb, and then outside of the ring, Mike Santana slams Eddie Edwards into the edge of the apron, and Mike Santana goes for a spin the block, and Eddie Edwards offenses it, and he crashes to the steel post, and he grabs Mike Santana and shoves him into the steel chair, elbow first, and then Eddie Edwards rolls him back into the ring, and Mike Santana headbutts him, and he charges at Eddie Edwards and goes face first into the turnbuckle, and Eddie Edwards launches him shoulder first into the turnbuckle, and Eddie Edwards continues to pressure Mike Santana right arm, and Mike Santana drops Eddie Edwards with an outline, and Chark falls with a cannonball and drives him down with a sit-out powerbomb, and he climbs to the top rope and crashing down with a puppy splash, and he goes for the cover, and Eddie Edwards kicks out at 2, and it prints up, and Eddie Edwards onto his shoulder, and Eddie Edwards digs into his eyes, and Eddie Edwards slams Mike Santana into the apron with a fisherman suplex. Then Eddie Edwards pulls up the padding outside of the ring and exposing the concrete and sets up to drop Mike Santana with a Tiger Bomb, and Mike Santana fires back with a DDT into the concrete, and both competitors rally and slide back into the ring at 9. And then both of them go down center of the ring. And then Alicia Edwards crashes down to the ramp, and Moose follows, and Alicia Edwards' true colors are exposed, and Brian Alicia Edwards' true colors are exposed, and Brian Myers and Bear Branson attack Moose from behind, and Mike Santana whips them out to protect Moose, and Eddie Edwards slams into Mike Santana with Boston Near Party for the cover, and Mike Santana kicks out, and Alicia slides the crutch into the ring, and the ref disarms him before he can use it on Mike Santana, and Moose dives into the ring and spears Eddie Edwards, and Mike Santana goes for the pin, and Eddie Edwards kicks out. Then Cedric Alexander tries to attack Mike Santana. Mike Santana counters with the spin the block into a rolling buck 50. Then Eddie Edwards flats him with another Boston Knee Party and then goes for the cover, and Mike Santana kicks out, and then Mike Santana lands back-to-back spin the block for the victory, and that's how Mike Santana won with the spin the block, back-to-back spin the block for the victory, and that's how he defeated Eddie Edwards, and that's how Mike Santana retained the TNA World title. And that's all I have to say, guys. And I gave this TNA Rebellion an 8.5 out of 10. I gave this Rebellion an 8.5 out of 10. And that's all I have to say, guys. And I gave this show an 8.5 out of 10. And this is Christopher. This is CJD. I'll say it again. This is CJD. You guys call me Chris or Christopher, as always. I know you guys always call me Chris or Christopher. And I appreciate it, as always, in the comment section saying hello, Chris, and giving me all the support, as always. But yes, guys, this is CJD. I'll say it again. This is CJD 2006. I'll say it again. This is CJD 2006. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit those notification bells, as always, guys. And this is CJD 2006, and we're out. Peace out and take care, guys. Peace out and take care.